Let's say you're handed a target you know absolutely nothing about. No documentation, no source code, no idea what it does. That's the situation I'm putting myself in today with Crapi, the completely ridiculous API. And since this is video, I can tell you up front, in the next 5 minutes, we'll find a real password using nothing but brute forcing techniques. And by the end, you'll have a cheat sheet with everything we used along the way. Today, I want to show you unauthenticated directory brute forcing in a black box approach, exactly the way I'd do it for a real pen test or bug bounty hunting. All I have is a URL, no prior knowledge, and I'm starting with the first recon phase of almost every real engagement, unauthenticated directory brute forcing. For this, I'm using the classic brute forcing tool, FFUF. Before I run anything, let's talk strategy for a second, because this matters more than people think. Your wordlist choice isn't a minor technical detail, it's arguably the single biggest factor in what you're going to find during recon. If a folder or file isn't in your word list, your tool simply will never see it. So the approach I use, and the one I'd recommend, is this. Start broad. Run a small, generic word list first, just to get a feel for how the application behaves. And then, depending on what you find, set up a bigger scan in the right way. It's always a problem if a scan shows nothing, but it's just as much of a problem if it shows too much. As a quick start, I'm running FFUF with a classic small word list, common.txt. It's a reasonable first move, small and generic, covering the most frequent folder and file names you'd expect on almost any web application. The scan comes back quickly. A handful of hits: community, identity, images, static, workshop, a few others. Nothing dramatic yet, but enough to start understanding the shape of this application. We've got a couple of 200s and a couple of 301s. For beginners, a 200 means status OK, and that's exactly the code we're most interested in. A 301 means temporarily moved, and we'd need to know where it moved to, but let's leave that for now. The key point is, even this unfiltered scan is already giving us realistic results. Now let's switch to a more comprehensive list, seclist's common.txt. Even though it's called common.txt, just like the previous one, and they do overlap, they're not identical, and sometimes the second list turns up something new. This time, a couple of new results show up, specifically a file called .env and a jwks.json file inside a well-known directory. Let's open .env first. This is a configuration file containing database connection details, database name, username, password, host, and port for 2 different databases. And this is a genuinely significant finding, because these credentials being exposed means an attacker can directly authenticate into the application's databases. Depending on the privileges of the discovered user, you might not even need to spend time researching application-level vulnerabilities, because you may already have an account with enough privileges to read the entire database, and from there, potentially escalate to taking over the whole server. Now let's check jwks.json. The information here is meant to be public. No internal signing keys are exposed, but it's still somewhat useful recon, because it tells me this application signs its tokens with RS256, which is something I'll want to keep in mind once I start testing how authentication actually works here. Now let's look at a couple of health endpoints. Regardless of which health endpoint I check, it returns the same OK status. This isn't a false positive, but it's not helpful for me either, so before going further, let's clean this up in our results. I'll add a filter, the flag-fs2, to exclude any response of 2 bytes in size. Let's check that the filter works by running the same scan again. With the noise filtered out, I run one more pass using a much larger, older word list, Durbuster's 2007 medium list. It's very old, but it's a classic for good reason. It still catches things even in some modern applications. I'm also adding the -R flag this time to follow redirects, since I noticed a lot of 301 responses earlier that I want fully resolved. This scan takes some time, since the list is big. It doesn't turn up anything new, and that's fine. That's actually part of the point. Thoroughness in Recon isn't only about finding something new, it's also about knowing you haven't missed something. You could keep going with even bigger word lists at this point, but I'll make a cut here for now. Typically, I run directory brute forcing with classic lists at the very beginning, and then, in the middle of a pen test, once I know more about the application and its stack, I research more specific word lists or put one together manually and redo the brute forcing to ensure better coverage. Before we wrap up, I put together all the flags and word lists I used today into a quick cheat sheet. Here it is. Feel free to save this and reuse it in your own Recon, and definitely extend it with your own favorite word lists as you build up your own toolkit. So we already have our first finding, a discovered database password, and we're not even logged in yet. What's next? Once I'm authenticated, I'll continue directory brute forcing, this time authenticated, since it can reveal additional results and give hints toward further existing vulnerabilities. But that's for next time.